back to TIW on Tap. I'm Mason,
I'm Danny.
aka Big Sexy, and this is our weekly podcast where we interview locals, historians, and musicians that come through the building. And this week we are very, very excited to have Joe Thompson on the podcast with us. We got into some great conversation with him. He is a business owner, a musician. He's got a fascinating story, and he also owns the Titusville Mill and the Magic Bus Kitchen with Aaron Armstrong right here in the Iron Works. So it is very exciting to be able to chat with him, and he's releasing an album, which we got into great detail about. So make sure you stick around and check that out. It is a great episode. But first, we want to kind of let you know what's going on here at the Iron Works this weekend. But I do just want to shout out all of these beautiful hats sitting on the table right in front of us.
Yeah, we got some new hats made, and they'll be available here at the Ironworks, and we got them made from Pro Threads Print Shop.
Yep.
So Josh Atkins helped us and hooked us up, and so more things in the future coming, so can't wait.
They're really, really great quality. So if you like any of these designs right here on the table, they will be available at the Ironworks this weekend. So just go ahead and ask the bartenders. They'll hook you up with a hat. They're going to be $25 each, but they're very high quality and totally worth it. I've been wearing mine every single day, so I really love it.
They're comfortable.
Yep. So Danny, what's going on this Friday here at the Ironworks?
Yeah, so this Friday we have Tyler Ripper playing. He's playing from 7:30 to 10:30, and doors open at 5, and it's no cover charge. So come on in, guys.
Yeah, it's going to be a ton of fun. I love it when Tyler plays. This Saturday is a very special day. It is our first Topless in Titusville Jeep Cruise-In. We did do a Jeep Cruise-In last year, but we have now branded it as Topless in Titusville. It's going to be a ton of fun. So if you have a Jeep, or you are a Jeep owner, or maybe just a Jeep lover, make sure you make it down here. We're going to be open from noon to 11 o'clock. The first 50 Jeeps that pull in are going to get a goodie bag. You can win prizes all day. There's live music going on. We have entertainment. So don't miss it. And it is for a great cause. It is going to raise money for Parent Project Muscular Dystrophy, which is very near and dear to our hearts here at the Titusville Iron Works. So we are really, really thankful to anyone that comes out and supports that. So when you pull in, there's going to be live music starting at 1 o'clock p.m. It'll be me, actually. I'll be playing out in the lot beside the Ironworks where all the Jeeps are parked, weather permitting. And I'm playing from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock. Directly following that, we have Music Bingo by Ham and Brian. And that is basically like regular bingo, but instead of them calling numbers, they're going to play a song. If you have the song on your bingo card, you can mark it off, and I know they're giving out some prizes. And following that, we have music by Radio 45. Gary Bickerstaff was just here last week, and he did a great job. It made me really, really excited to see that show. So I can't wait for that. And guys, I just want to let you know there are some awesome prizes that you can win for Best Jeep, for all sorts of things. I already saw some of the prizes. There are some beautiful cornhole boards that were donated by Titusville Physical Therapy. There's some other stuff too. So make sure you make it out. And we really appreciate everyone coming and supporting a good cause. So
yeah, definitely be a fun event, and it's going for a great cause. And then this Sunday we have our Be the Star karaoke.
Mm-hmm.
We're open from 12 to 7, and we have JT's Tickle My Ribs food truck coming in. So stop on down and enjoy it. And can't beat Sunday fun days, buddy.
Hey guys, and this is getting down to the end of them. Our last Sunday fun day for the year is going to be on October 13th. We're having a big Sunday fun day bash that day. So make sure if you want to make it to an open mic that we do, make sure you make it in before October 13th. It's a ton of fun, and we're going to miss them until next year. So we'll see you this weekend. We really appreciate all of you, and let's get straight into this episode with Joe Thompson. We are very excited to have our great buddy Joe Thompson on the podcast today. He is a Titusville native who left and has come back. He is a business owner, a musician, and very involved in the community. So we are really, really excited to chat with him today, and we're going to get into all of that. So, Joe, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself real quick?
Oh, fair, very good. Thanks, first of all, gentlemen, for having me on the podcast. Yeah, like you said, I was born and raised here. I left after high school, went to Penn State and studied musical theater and pursued music and the acting arts for many years. Gypsied around. Lived in Pittsburgh, PA. I gigged around in Lancaster and Illinois, and then I finally moved to New York City and lived there for many years, and a brief stop in Austin, Texas, and then at the ripe age of about 35, I decided I wanted to be closer to family, involved in the family business on oil and gas, and raise a family of my own. So moved back here. At this point, it's been quite a number of years, but 2011, I moved back to Titusville.
Actually, I remember really specifically when you moved back because I was doing high school theater at that time. And I remember you would come in, and I believe at the time, Lane Fortney was doing the music for the shows, and you would come in and helped Judy Millar as well put the show together, and I met you then.
Oh, wow. I actually remember that, and holy man.
See, I've known you now, I guess, probably since 2011 would be when I met you.
13 short years.
Yeah. And, I feel really lucky that I've been able to keep working with you and continue to see you all the time, man. And
likewise.
And jam out and play some music. So what exactly got you started on your musical journey?
Oh, well, as germane as it might be, it was Carl Olson was really the true catalyst. Mm-hmm. I loved, as a kid, I loved listening to music. I listened to the radio all the time. I was like one of those young people who always had to have the radio on. Whether I was playing in my room, in the car, even when I went to bed at night, I had the radio. K104 was the station in Erie at the time. I think it's like Hot Licks 104 or something now. Yeah. I don't know what it's called, but anyway, so I always had the radio on. And but when I remember I was in sixth grade at Cherry Tree Elementary, and Carl Olson came calling. He would come to all of the sixth grade classes and recruit for his young men's chorus. Mm-hmm. At the time, he had a seventh, eighth, ninth grade men's chorus, and so he would come into the classroom and talk to the boys about what his choir was and how much fun it was, and I was like, I don't know if I should do it or not. My mom said to me, she's like, do it for me. She's like, I love listening to you sing. Just do it for me. And so I auditioned and I got in, and that man made me fall in love with music. And right around the same time, I bought a CD of I had you either had tapes or CDs back then, and not many people had CDs in 1988. I had a CD player, and I bought a compact disc. I was obsessed with the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and the scene on the float where they did "Twist and Shout" by the Beatles. I was like, I love that. I love that song. So I went to Camelot Music in Cranberry Mall and bought the Beatles album "Please Please Me" that had "Twist and Shout" on it, and I was like, well, I'll just listen to the rest of it. And I became a huge Beatles fan in 1988, and and then so I became a real lover of anything like classic rock. Right. I fell in love with like Elvis Presley, Chuck Berry, Bill Haley in the Comments, Buddy Holly. Really just became a student of rock and roll at that time. Mm-hmm. And one thing led to the next. Became and I also at the same time became really interested in theater. High school bands. I had a band in high school with some close friends. We were called Revolver, and
that's a good high school band name right there, man.
And we wrote our own songs, and we later revisited it after we were all done with college, and gigged around in Pittsburgh for a couple of years, and from there I was pretty much smitten with the craft of song and the art of songwriting, and I just earnestly started studying that, and with a formal musical theater education, I became I got the tools I needed in a college atmosphere, learning about song structure and music theory and phrasing and rhyming and all that as well.
The important things when you're writing a song.
Oh well, they tend to be anyway.
Not always.
Yeah. When you were in high school, what was your first instrument you ever played?
Singing. That was my voice. I didn't play an instrument. I didn't learn how to play guitar until I was 25.
Oh wow.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And then right after high school, I went on a mission trip down to Florida. The First Presbyterian Church. We used to go down to DeLand, Florida, on a mission trip every other year. So right after I graduated from high school, went on that trip, and a friend of mine had a harmonica, and she was just messing around with it, and I asked her if I could borrow it, and she said, "Oh, you can just keep it." And it was my first harmonica, and I learned how to play. I learned how to play Old Susanna on it, and
oh really?
The rest just kind of, you kind of learned your way. I learned my way around the instrument, just goofing around with it, and got pretty proficient at the harmonica over the next, 30 years.
You need to help Danny out with our harmonica, man. He bought one. It sounds like a cat dying when he's playing it.
Yeah.
I was actually playing it the other night, and it's bad.
Takes time. So you actually had played in Joe's Sunroom as well.
When I moved back to Titusville.
So what was the story of, because Carl was also in that band,
yes,
correct?
He was,
so what was the story of you guys coming together and putting together an act?
Well, they were a well-established act before I moved back to Titusville. I think they got started in like 2003 or 2004.
Okay.
And it was just a bunch of like-minded, talented musicians. They would get together, just to jam, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That's my understanding. And they figured out that they were a pretty good act, and started doing live shows.
Right.
But yeah, I when I moved back to Titusville, I got to be real good buds with Bill Cochran.
Okay.
And Bill and I would get together on weekends and write songs, and he'd say, I have this idea, and I'd put some lyrics to it, and then he asked me if I would sit in as a vocalist with Paula, Paula DeGregory, as a co-lead vocalist, and so yeah, I was in that band for 6 years. Really,
I guess I didn't realize it was,
or maybe even longer than that.
Yeah,
it's more like 7. I think my first gig with Joe's Sunroom was Applefest 2012.
Okay.
And I was like, this is a lot of fun,
Yeah.
Up until that point, I was used to being in the front man of my own gig.
Right.
Doing my own music, footing the bill for everything. And it was wonderful to come into an experience where it was just, hey, we do these covers, people love it.
Mm-hmm.
And we just go out and we have a good time. We'd get together and have some cocktails, and I got to be in a band with my mentor, my teacher.
Yeah,
Carl.
That had to be a great feeling.
Oh, it's
man.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
It was phenomenal, and I met new people. Like I got to be good friends with through that. I got to be good friends with Joe Carter and Jerry Gates,
mm-hmm.
and Paula, like I said, and then Kevin Vincent, who's
I know Kevin very
teacher.
well. Yep.
And we just established these wonderful close friendships that you just don't forge any other way but being on stage and
everyone you brought up is so talented.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It just is fun. And I've loved recently getting to know a lot of these people a lot better and being able to jam out with them myself.
Yeah.
It is just such a fun feeling
Yeah.
to be able to play with talented people.
Well, that, like last weekend where Carl's Celebration of Life,
Yes.
that jam session was amazing.
Oh, it was unbelievable.
That was, yeah.
That was a good time, and you know, there's a lot of those tunes I either did with Carl in his men's chorus, like Sir Duke. We did. What else was in there? Sir Duke was particularly poignant for me because we would sing the musical break that do 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 do, and so, and I did when I was up there, man. I sang it full throated.
That's awesome.
But and then, you know, there were some songs from the Joe Sunroom days in that set as well, and I was like, you know, it was really great. It was a really great way to honor a great friend and teacher to so many. You know, what's so cool about my story about Carl, in my opinion, is that it's not unique. He touched so many people's lives with music, opened so many doors with music, and you know how, you know, music's inherently, the study of music, I should say, is inherently for most people a very intimidating endeavor.
I would have to agree. Yeah.
You know, and it can be stuffy, it can be snobby, it can seem like a pretty elite club. Mm-hmm. And Carl made it approachable, and fun.
Yeah,
fun. You know, and you know, the history of all this. You know, that we know and love is fun. I mean, it's rock and roll, man. That's
what matters, man. It's what drives us.
And that's the thing, is he was, you know, you were learning church songs, you were learning, you know, Christmas carols, Christmas anthems, but then you were learning, you know, Billy Joel's "We Didn't Start the Fire," and, you know, Stevie Wonder's "Sir Duke." You know, you were learning about Louis Armstrong and Bob Dylan and, you know, the Rolling Stones and Paul Simon, side by side with Mendelssohn, Mozart, and Beethoven.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's...
You know, one of the things I've always said is I feel really, really lucky that I grew up in Titusville and got into music in Titusville, because I find a lot of people try to take after Carl's theory of how to teach music, you know, and it is very welcoming. It's always been so much fun. I was involved in so many things in school that I don't think I would have went out on my own musical journey if it wasn't for growing up here. So
it gives you a license. Well, I'm speaking for myself, I guess I should say. Music, you know, music, specifically music, is, you know, gave me a license to just really be myself. Yeah. And you know, some would say it's letting your freak flag fly, or just you know, being the person that I am. You know? And I you know, that's what I try to be. You know, that's what I try to express, I should say. You know, when I'm writing, you know, there's a lot of self-deprecating humor that comes out that way.
That's what makes a good song.
I agree, you know.
And speaking of you writing, so you are releasing your EP, meanwhile.
Yes.
Coming up. Yeah. So do you want to go into a little bit about what that EP means to you? Maybe give us a little detail. When's it coming out? Where can people find it?
Sure, absolutely. So yeah, I when I was living in New York City, I spent the majority of my years in New York were spent, instead of pursuing a theater career, which I should have been doing. I got it in my head that I was a songwriter and I was gonna make records, and so I did. And I made 3 records while I lived in New York. I did an EP and 2 LPs, all self-financed. You know, and you know, it's a pretty steep undertaking, you know, financially to do those. But you know, my hope being that, you know, I could garner some kind of interest to take it, you know, even further. How someone does that is still a mystery to me, but you know, I feel like, you know, getting someone to pay attention to. Yeah, there's so much music out there, and there's so much self-funded, self-promoted music out there. But anyway, so I did 3 albums while I lived in New York, and so it's been 14 years since I released a record.
Really?
And I didn't stop writing over that period of time. I've always consistently written. It's been something that I've very diligent about.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, there are times that are more prolific than others. I will say that the last 2 or 3 years have been among the most prolific for me. But so I decided what happened is I met through my restaurant, the Titusville Mill. I met a couple, Ashley Maddox and her husband Jeff Rose, who live in Meadville. They happened to be dining with us. She actually stopped in for a cup of coffee, and we got to talking. And next thing I knew, she was on the baby grand piano playing. It's like, wow,
Are they by chance in 50 Miles to Empty?
I don't know. Are they? I don't know.
I'm not sure. The name sounds familiar to me, but I'm not 100% sure on
they
that.
Have
I think I'm wrong on that. To be
I don't
honest
think
with
they
you.
are. No, they have a little duo band called the Bright Ideas.
Oh, okay.
And they she was playing piano, and then they were in the next week, and we started talking, and I said, well, why don't we book you as an act and you come in, and they came in and played, and I fell in love with both of them. Their little duo act, the Bright Ideas, and Jeff is just such a tasty drummer. I said, hey, would you want to sit in and gig with us when we do full band gigs? He's like, oh, I'd love to do that. That'd be
awesome.
great.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, great. So we got him in on a couple of shows last year, and we I was listening to I was on Facebook, and my friend, he was in one of he was in the early lineup down here pretty frequently. Chad Burrows.
I know Chad. Yep.
Yeah, Chad's a good guy, and I heard his album, and I was like, man, this sounds great, Chad. Who did this record? Who did you do this with? He's like, I did it with Jeff Rose. And I was like, wow. And so I texted Jeff. I said, when are we start working on an album?
There you go. That's awesome, man.
and next thing I know, we were in the middle of it. So, but anyway, getting started on the record, I was like, I don't know what to do here. First of all, it's even working with a friend, it's an expensive endeavor. And I was like, you know what, let's just take it easy. Let's dip our toe back in the pool, and we'll start off with something small. We'll just do an EP.
Yeah.
And then I was like, what songs do you put on a 5-song EP, Joe? Like which ones? But I knew there were a couple that had to go on it. There were 2 that had to go on it, and otherwise my mother would never speak to me again, or my bandmates in the bus company. So so we I started culling a list together, and I got it down to 7 or 8, and then I went in with 5, and those are the 5 that stuck. So
that's usually, I feel like, how it goes.
Yeah.
It can be a really daunting process trying to whittle it down.
Well, it's 14 years of songs in the tank, plus what other 3 dozen were not used in the previous previous albums. So anyway, I got it down. I'm it's like thematically what's going to work together, mood wise,
right?
Message wise, artistically, I'm not going to put a folk song with a metal song.
Yeah.
Not that I've written any metal songs, Daniel.
Oh,
but
it's all right.
Wow. But anyway, so I came up with these 5 tunes, and we got to work on it, and it became very evident, very clear that this was the right guy to work with.
That's cool.
And
that's a good feeling.
Oh, it is. And the fact that I was able to find it, right here in the backyard.
That's
not,
very nice.
Not have to go off to Pittsburgh or back to New York or anything like that. Jeff produced it, and really, I came in with the tunes, and I try not to be. I can be a pain in the ass, but I know what I have a pretty good idea what my limitations are, and I said, let's set these down, and you tell me what you're hearing, and instead of like telling me with his words, he told me with with what he put down
with production and stuff. Yeah. It's really comforting working with somebody that you really trust and you trust their process. Yep. I've been in a room with some people that sometimes it just doesn't come together, but then when you find someone you really like working with, magic can happen, man, out of literally nothing. So it's a great feeling.
Yep.
Who did the artwork for it? Because I really, really love that artwork.
My friend Brent Muir did the cover art for it, and Brent's a wonderful, wonderful artist and graphic artist. He can take an idea and run with it better than just about anybody I've ever met. I said, hey, give this a listen. Let me know. Here's some thoughts. There was some like American primitivism artwork from like the 1950s that I'd been really into.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the name of the artist off the top of my head right now, but I said, I love this guy's work. I think this really speaks to, where I'm coming from perspective wise, where I feel like I'm coming from perspective wise, at this record, and then he started, he came up with something, and then I said, those find it games, when someone will have a painting and it'll like my mom's got one of these in her house down in Texas, and it's all these cliches in terms of phrases that are, painted into a painting, and then it's got like a key on the bottom of which each one of them is, and I was like, let's kind of approach it like that, and give like clues to the songs in here, and so like each of the 5 songs is represented in some way in the artwork, in some capacity. So I thought that'd be pretty cool.
So as you listen through, you can kind of take a look and try to figure it out.
It's like old school, you just look at the album art and see,
That's really fun, actually. I like that idea.
And this album is called Meanwhile. Nice.
So,
where can people listen to it at?
Well, it'll be available on the 13th of September on all the major streaming platforms. Sorry about that. All the major streaming platforms. So, your Spotify's, your Apple Music.
Perfect.
Nice.
Pandora.
Are you doing like a pre-save for it or anything?
What?
Like a pre-save link?
Oh, I should. I don't think I did that.
I don't know if it's always available. It depends which platform you use to upload it, depending on if they let you or not.
Yeah.
But I'll link your Spotify, your Apple Music right in here so people can find it really easy.
Perfect.
And then you guys are doing, it is next Friday.
Yeah, Friday the 13th.
Yes.
You and the Bus Company?
Yep.
Nice.
So we're doing the album release.
Yep.
So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it will be. So the Bus Company is the name of the outfit that I perform with most often these days, and it's the Bus Company is myself, Nathaniel Licht, Anna Lenort on vocals, and then I play guitar and Nathaniel plays keys, and then Jeff Rose, who produced the record, is our drummer.
Okay.
Patrick Vetter, another musical teacher in the Titusville Area School District, he plays bass guitar for us, and then I've got 2 special guests joining us for the night. I've got Jerry Gates, who is our electric guitar player in Joe's Sunroom.
Okay.
Will be on guitars, and then Adam McKillop, who is a member of both the Probables and Smilo and the Ghost will be playing mandolin, banjo, and pedal steel for us.
Wow,
Oh,
that's going to be
great.
cool.
Yeah, it'll be. I'm excited for the lineup, and almost all of those people are on the album. Jerry's not, and Patrick's not, but that's okay. A lot of the work was done just with Jeff and I, just to keep things concise. But Adam McKillop's on it, Anna and Nathaniel are on it, and myself, and obviously Jeff. So
Yeah, that's going to be a great night,
Yeah,
man. I'm excited. I am definitely working that night, so I can be down here the whole time. It's going to be great.
It'll be a fun night. It's getting through the 5 songs will be nothing. I mean, that's 25 minutes of your life. Yeah. So we'll have another 2.5 hours to.
So are you guys doing more original stuff of yours, or is it going to be covers?
We'll do a pretty heavy batch of original JT tunes.
That's cool.
Stuff from this record. We'll do all 5 of the songs from this record, and then we'll hit songs from the other 2 full length albums pretty hard.
Awesome.
And then there's some covers of ours that have become kind of standard for us to get done. So there'll be plenty for everyone.
Perfect.
Yeah, that'll be fun. So real quick, going back to your days of living in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
So were you in any bands in New York City?
So I was not in any bands per se. I fronted my own outfit called Joe Thompson and the Comfortable Catastrophe.
I love that name.
Thank you. And we actually, so right before I moved from New York City, there was a musical act contest, a battle of the bands, for that lack of a better term, that was sponsored by the NPR station in New York City, WNYC, and it was called Battle of the Boroughs, and you had to submit your application and a sample of your music, and I think there were something like 10 or 15,000 applicants.
Holy crap.
So they picked representatives from each borough to battle it out. And so what happened is each borough had their night in the studios down at WNYC. It was a really nice little live space called the Green Space. And if you get a chance to check out WNYC.org, you can see lots of live performances from the Green Space. But so we had the Queen's night down at the Green Space, and so we had to duke it out with like 9 other bands from Queens, and so Manhattan, Brooklyn, Staten Island, and the Bronx all had their night as well. So it was a pretty brilliant ploy from WNYC to get a lot of people in their studios over the course of several weeks. But anyway, we went in for the Queen's night because that's where I lived. You had to be from you had to live in the borough that you were. So I went in with the band, my backing band, the Comfortable Catastrophe, and you got one song. That's it. You got one song.
Wow, that's got to be intimidating. Man.
Yeah, and then I went in, and there's a song of mine called Louisa, and it's a pretty big party drinking song, and I mean, we walked away with that pretty handily. It was it was like, all right, yeah, we got that.
Yeah,
which was I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound overly confident. It was almost no contest.
I can tell it probably wouldn't be because I've heard you play that song, and it is an incredible song.
Oh,
man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And so we won that, and then we had to come back for the Battle of the Boroughs. All right. Mm-hmm. So the winner from Queens versus the winner from Staten Island versus the winner from Bronx, Brooklyn, and Manhattan.
Yeah.
We all got to, and everybody got up there, and again, you had one song, and for whatever reason, when we got done, the judges asked us to play another one.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah. And I'll never forget, it was John Schaefer. He used to have he used to have a show on NPR called Soundcheck. I used to listen to it all the time, and I was like, holy crap, John Schaefer wants another song. He's like, wow, that was 3 chords in the truth, man. You got another one. And we pulled out a real soulful tune from my first album, The Hunting and the Hope, a tune called Hymn. And I guess they were moved by it, and we won.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, we won the whole shooting match.
Wow.
And so then we got invited back to the studio for our own full show in the green space, and we got to do some promo, and we got an opening spot on the Summer Stages series, and we got this little trophy that probably cost about $7 from the local trophy shop, but it is legit.
That's cool though, man. Cool. That is a hell of a story.
It sits on my mantle in my music room.
That's cool. And how many years did you live in New York City?
8. I was there for 8 years. Yep.
See,
you can go.
I was just gonna ask, because that's where you got into mixology.
Yeah. I learned how to bartend when I was living in Pittsburgh. I remember if you got time for another story. Yeah. When I moved to Pittsburgh, I was working as a professional actor. And I just needed a little extra dough to supplement my income as a pro actor. And so there was a restaurant that opened up in Shadyside called the Walnut Grill. And so I started working there as a busboy. I said, it was like that scene from American Beauty. It's like, I want as little responsibility as possible. And so I started bussing tables. I was 25, 26 years old, bussing tables. Not that there's anything wrong with that. And that was my first foray into the restaurant business.
Yeah.
And so I started bussing tables, and then on the weekends I would bar back. And eventually they trained me to bartend, and then I was managing one of their restaurants. And then I moved to New York City, and I needed a job now.
Yeah.
Like right now. And so I started, at the time, my girlfriend was working for this corporation called Be Our Guest, and she got me an interview, and I got hired by this big, huge restaurant that was right in Times Square on 49th and Broadway. And I told them I knew how to bartend, and I was making Cosmos and Jack and Cokes, but whatever. So I got the gig. I was hired as a waiter there, but like my second day on the job, a bartender called off, and they had this just a little back. It was the service bar. It was not in front of anybody. And I had no training whatsoever, and they came to me and said, "Hey, Joe T, do you think you could bartend tonight?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, whatever."
Yeah,
sure. And so I went in the back bar, and that was it. And before too long, I was working the main bar all the time, and I was on the bartending staff there. And this place was no joke. It was elevated Pan Asian cuisine with a great cocktail list, and it was like right in Times Square. So we were right next to Lehman Brothers. We were a block away from Radio City Music Hall at Rockefeller Center, and just right next door to all the Broadway theaters. So any given night was a hellacious busy evening.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
With pre-theater and then post-theater. And then you'd get to the holidays, and it would be, the Radio City Christmas Time Spectacular and all the tourism, man. It was just wall to wall crazy. And so I learned how to work fast. I learned how to work, fast. I learned how to work quality.
Yeah. If you're going to learn how to work fast and quality, it's going to be on Times Square.
With your head on the anvil. But then, I moved on after 4 years of doing that, and started working down in the meatpacking district at a really, really luxe spot called Budokan. And as I worked there, you know, I at that point I had quite a number of years under my belt, and I started writing their cocktails for them.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, and then you know, moved on from there, and then, you know, I wrote the cocktail list down at the W Hotel in Austin, Texas, and yeah, I got a lot of great experience doing that.
Yeah, and then you brought it back to Titusville.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I moved back here, and you know, finally opened my own place, and yeah, got to bring the cocktails and dreams, as my friends and I call it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Every time I'm in there, I order an espresso martini. Love them things. Like a big guy like me, and I'm holding to him. Like, here we go.
They are
That's
delicious.
because you're a fancy dancer, Daniel.
I know.
Well, I do want to give a shout out to the mill and to the Magic Bus Kitchen.
Thank you.
Because you are the fabulous owner of both of those.
Yep.
And you've done a
Co-owner.
great co-owner. You've done a fantastic job with those, man. And
Thank you.
It's really, really cool to have in Titusville.
Thank you.
And if you guys are in the Iron Works and you eat at the Magic Bus Kitchen, that is Joe and Aaron. And it's all fantastic. You guys got to check out their menu, come in. They're open every night we are open on Friday and Saturday. So it's great.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Yeah, we it's a lot of fun to bring those kinds of recipes and menu items to our town.
Yeah, and it's great to have, man. It's nice to have a nice place to sit down and eat and really, really enjoy the food. You guys do a lot of great stuff over at the mill with your trivia nights. You guys do a lot of special events and stuff. So check them out on Facebook. It's a Titusville Mill. I will put that right here on the screen so you can check that out, because you guys
Thank you, Mason.
always keep it updated.
Yes, sir.
Well, Joe, thank you so much,
Mason,
man,
Danny, thank you very much for taking the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely appreciate you coming on, buddy.
Yeah. So I want to remind all of you, this weekend we are open Friday from 5 o'clock to 11 o'clock. We have Tyler Ripper, the local legend Tyler Ripper, playing. I always love when he plays. He's playing from 7:30 to 10:30 p.m. There's no cover charge, but it is 21 plus after 7 o'clock. This Saturday, it is Topless in Titusville Jeep Fest. We have a ton of stuff going on with that. I'll be playing from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock. Woo! We're ending the night with Radio 45. They're great. Gary Bickerstaff was just in last week, and he was playing, and I'm really excited for that show.
Gary's the man.
He is the man. And this Sunday, we are open for our open mic and karaoke from noon to 7 o'clock. I cannot remember the food truck off the top of my head right now, but we will mention that in the beginning of the episode anyway. So, guys, thank you so much. And Joe, one more time, I appreciate it, man.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate you.
Thanks, buddy.